After wrestling his last match just weeks ago, WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair is already alluding that he will wrestle once again. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And I did a video just days ago. And I say it was a video. In fairness, it probably was a little bit more of a rant when I was doing it, and the reason I was getting so frustrated whilst I was recording it is because I'd seen the quotes online. I'd seen Ric Flair speaking and reflecting on his last match, of course his tag team victory with his son-in-law Andrade El Idolo over Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and I'd seen all of that, but I wanted to hear his words in context. And at the time I was focusing more on his health issues that he suffered during his final match. At 2 points in his last match he passed out. He went black twice. Now, in explaining why he passed out, in explaining why he went black, why he literally was unconscious at two separate points in that match, he was explaining, oh, it was because I was dehydrated. I wasn't hydrating properly. I'd lost all of this weight and I'd got into great shape for the match and I just hadn't hydrated enough. If I'd have hydrated enough, then man, I wouldn't have passed out and I'd have done a lot more in that match. And I'm sorry, I really truly am, and maybe that was part of it. Maybe it was hydration, maybe it was nerves, but also it's the fact that the guy is in his 70s. He's wrestling a match. I don't care if he had doctors clear him, multiple doctors. Guess what? Doctors will do that. They will. You'll be able to find one. He even said himself, when he was in the process of getting cleared to do these matches, he said, a couple of doctors, I didn't like their opinions, so I found ones that I did like. Basically, he's saying, if a doctor didn't clear him, I'll just find another one. That's fine. What are we doing? But the thing that really opened my eyes when I was reading those comments, and particularly when I was listening to the podcast he did with Conrad Thompson this week, To Be the Man, I believe it's called, it had 3 shows. And at several points, you could tell, 1, he's got the bug back. 2, he wasn't happy with how it went down because he's saying, man, I wish I could have performed a little bit better. And it was because I was dehydrated, right? Yeah, it was because I was dehydrated. No, it had nothing to do with the fact that I'm in my 70s. It had nothing to do with the fact that I've got a bad heart. It had nothing to do with the fact that I've got bad intestines. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I'm on blood thinners. It's got nothing to do with my inner ear issues. It's got nothing to do, as I mentioned, just the fact that he's an old man wrestling when he shouldn't be wrestling anymore. No. I just didn't drink enough water that day. I mean, how ludicrous are we talking here? And the first thing he said when he did that podcast, the first thing he said was, I'm sitting here and my one regret is that I said it was going to be my last match, because he's getting offers. Not only has he got the bug back, but he's getting offers that maybe he wasn't getting before. He got offers, he said, in Puerto Rico just a week later. Do you want to wrestle? He said, no, I can't get in the ring a week later. But he basically implied, well, but maybe in the future, if I'm getting good money, I can do it. And Ric Flair has also now started to imply that there's going to be more involved here. It really, really is wild. Now, as I mentioned, the success of the show, Ric Flair's last match, was a major success, and from a commercial standpoint, it hasn't gone unnoticed, and StarCast promoter Conrad Thompson has already indicated the event was the first part of a master plan for him. He's also recently trademarked another defunct wrestling promotion. It's also been implied that he could have Booker T's final match or last match in the future in Texas, possibly a Harlem Heat reunion of sorts. Now, whether that plan involves or should involve Ric Flair, that's the major question when it comes to this master plan that Conrad Thompson has. The 73-year-old came into the match suffering, as I mentioned, from plantar fasciitis, and it was noticeably hindered him throughout the match. Again, we can talk about injuries, but I think just the general consensus is that's what happens when you try and wrestle when you're in your 70s. Flair mentioned that he had other issues in the match, dehydration. Now, given those issues, along with his age and past health problems, it would be logical to assume we will not be seeing Ric Flair ever again, and we probably shouldn't have seen him the first time. Whatever Thompson's master plan may entail, but much like his old rival Sting, the only thing that's for sure about Ric Flair is that nothing is for sure. As if to hammer that point home, Flair posted an interesting tweet early Friday morning, both addressing his health and suggesting that his last match may not be his last match after all. He said, quote, all the attention that I'm getting for dehydration, which can happen to any 23-year-old, is crazy, Flair tweeted. When I get ready for something big again, I will obviously drink more water than beer next time. Woo. As I mentioned, it should be noted that Flair had recently expressed satisfaction with his supposed final match, indicating there was no need for him to ever step in the ring again. Nevertheless, Flair has kept active since then. As I mentioned, he appeared as Andrade's cornerman in Puerto Rico last weekend. Now, should Flair decide that Ric Flair's last match was something of a misnomer, that would put him in the position to have a 5th last match of his career. In addition to the tag match against Jay Lethal and Jarrett, Flair's previous final matches, or last matches, include the career versus career cage match versus Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc in 1994, a match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 24, and a match with Sting on September 15, 2011 on the episode of Impact Wrestling. I believe, as I mentioned before in my previous video, Ric Flair will wrestle again. I have no doubts in my mind about it. I think that Ric Flair, when you watch him, and I really would recommend to go watch this week's episode of his podcast, because he's not a very good poker player. I don't have any idea if Ric Flair's ever played poker in his life. If I was to advise him, I would say never play poker, because you're easy to read. It's very easy what Ric Flair wants to do, or to see rather what Ric Flair wants to do. He wants to wrestle again. He can say that he was satisfied with how that match came out, and maybe he was satisfied with how parts of it came out, but clearly he thinks he can do better. There was meant to be a spot where he got a superplex off the top rope. Instead, it was just a suplex by Jay Lethal. He's frustrated that that didn't happen. And he believes that, oh no, it's just the dehydration. Dehydration, if it wasn't for the dehydration, remember what he was saying going into this match as well in these press conferences. He says, I'll be better than I was when I wrestled Shawn Michaels in 2008. And frankly, it's laughable to say that, because at the time Ric Flair was in his 50s. Now he's in his 70s. You can't go against time. You really can't. It's one thing wrestling in your 50s, and even that's a stretch, to wrestling in your 70s. And even the healthiest of 70-year-olds, you would say it's a risk, just because of your age, let alone with all of the health issues that you've had. And again, I don't care if he's been cleared by doctors or certain doctors, because a lot of doctors out there would say, no, you can't do it. Especially, again, and this is what is wild, I really do believe that if Ric Flair wanted to have another match and he went to a doctor, even maybe the same doctor, and said, I want to wrestle another match, and you cleared me last time, right? And he would say, okay, how did the last match go? I mean, obviously you did a lot of training, we cleared you, but how did that go? And he said, I passed out twice. He'd say, why? Well, dehydration. They could be like, no, it's too risky. And look, I'm a Ric Flair fan. There's a lot of baggage that goes on Ric Flair. I don't know if he's particularly the nicest person in the world as well, when you hear some of the instances that things he's done throughout his life. But of course, who isn't a Ric Flair fan? And he's an iconic figure and one of, if not the greatest pro wrestler of all time. I don't want to see him end not his career, his life in the ring. Nobody wants to see that. As a fan, and it's not about me, clearly, but as a fan, I watched that match through my fingers like this, just hoping it would end and Ric Flair would be alive. And you might say, oh no, you're over-exaggerating, but I was not. I was not. And Ric Flair knows that. He feigned a heart attack during it. And I don't really care about that, because people said it was bad taste, whatever. But it was just, I don't care to see it again. It was what it was. It drew a good house. People talked about it, for better or for worse. It was like a car crash at the end, when we just happy we got through it. But never again. Never again. You escaped death once again, Ric Flair. That's it. And yet again, he's already thinking, I'll do it again and I'll do it better. So get ready for the Ric Flair comeback video once again in the future. Nevertheless, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.